What's up guys, Hunter Konechny here. Today we're talking topwater. So with summer in full swing, topwater is one of the most fun ways to catch them, and it works as good now as pretty much any time of the year. So I wanted to go through everything you would need to know to use these techniques successfully. So I'm going to cover the different baits, which there's a few different categories here. The equipment you might need, little tips to make yourself more successful, just basically everything that would encompass being successful doing topwater. So to start out, I think we're going to start with walking baits. That's a pretty general category that a lot of people are familiar with, and I wanted to just kind of start there. So with walking baits, there's a few different things to consider when you're choosing your bait. So when I like to throw a walking bait is generally either when I'm fishing open water where there's not a lot of structure around and trees, grass, anything like that, that's going to get fouled up on the treble hooks, or if it's kind of sparse cover where I can work it through it without getting stuck too much. So it's a little bit dependent on how effective you're able to get the bait through, but if I think I can get the bait through effectively, then oftentimes a walking bait can be a great technique to throw towards that kind of stuff. So we're talking like Roosevelt, for example, there's a lot of trees that you might be able to throw it around, so that would be a perfect scenario to throw a topwater. So sparse trees, if there's any grass lines or maybe tule lines, working them down the edges of the grass and tule lines. And then open water, it works great as well. So if you're fishing a lake that's a little bit more clear, it seems like the clearer the water is, the farther they're willing to come up and basically get the bait. So that opens up the realm of a lot of possibilities too. So if you're fishing a clear water fishery, local one being Pleasant, for example, then that works great. Early morning, low light conditions, definitely something to consider. So one of the first things you're going to want to consider is generally how big are the bait fish in the lake. So most situations, what you're kind of trying to do is more or less match generally about the size of the bait fish, and that goes for most baits, not just topwater, for example, but I mean with your crankbaits and different things like that, you're also going to kind of generally want to match roughly the size of the bait fish you're throwing. So if you're fishing a lake that's got a bunch of super small bait fish, then maybe you want to go with more of like a downsized one. Like for example, this is the smaller Reaction Innovations Vixen. As you can see, this one has caught a lot of fish over the years. This is actually one of the original ones from way back in the day. This is the first walking bait I ever got back in the day, so I've had this thing for quite a while. Obviously it catches fish. So if it's generally smaller bait fish, then I might gear a little bit more towards that smaller size. If it's kind of normal, like run-of-the-mill, nothing too crazy, it's not overly small, they're kind of average size, then I'd say 9 times out of 10 I'm going to steer towards the larger size one. So that being, like, this is the Evergreen Shower Blows 125, so we're looking at roughly that size. This is the full-size Vixen. So this, or like the Teckle, I think it's called the Nick Knocker, that one works good as well. Something like that. So the full 5-inch size one is generally what I'm going to steer towards most of the time, but if there is a lot of smaller bait fish, then I'm going to go towards that smaller size. Another thing to consider, so if you're fishing and it's just dead calm, no wind at all, no breeze, no ripple, no nothing, the next thing you need to consider is kind of which bait you want to choose as far as how loud it is. So you have baits that are pretty loud and aggressive, like the Vixen, for example. You can kind of hear that. And then you have ones that are a little bit more subtle, like this Shower Blows. So you can hear that's way toned down compared to what the Vixen is. So generally when it's a little bit more calm, there's no breeze, no ripple, no noise, going towards that little bit more subtle version can be more effective than maybe the louder one. And then vice versa, when the wind's blowing, you got a little bit of ripple on the water, sometimes that louder one can help them key in on it and see it from farther away, and that can be the ticket when you have a little bit of breeze going. So that's something to consider as well. Another good one for the subtle one would be like the Lucky Craft Gunfish. I don't have any here on my hand right now, but that's another good one that's good for more of a subtle presentation. As far as colors, so as you can see, bone is my favorite topwater color for the walking baits. There's other good ones as well. So I have like the lime ice right here, so it's more of a translucent color with the green and kind of some shine to it, so that works good in clear water. This is just kind of a general shad color. I honestly don't even know what this color's called, but this one works good. Caught plenty of fish on that. So I mean, between those colors, to some degree, you have like your traditional shad color, more of your translucent color, and then the bone color. That's really all you need. So I would really steer towards those, and then kind of depends on the water clarity on which one I might pick for the day. So if I'm fishing a little bit dirtier water, it's going to be bone all day long. There isn't even really a thought otherwise. If I'm fishing super clear water, then that starts to kind of open the realm of different possibilities there. So I mean, I've caught plenty of fish on a bone vixen at Lake Pleasant, so they'll eat the bone one in clear water too. But I know colors like lime ice can be super successful there. I've definitely caught fish on this in the past. I mean, they'll eat this silver one no problem too. So clear water, I'm gonna say it depends on how aggressive your fish are. If they're pretty aggressive, then I probably throw a little bit more of the bold colors. If it seems like they're a little bit more timid, then I probably steer more towards the natural colors. So that pretty much sums up that. As far as working the bait, I mean, you basically cast it out, and then you're just doing a steady walk the dog retrieve. So you're just popping, 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 and the bait's just walking back and forth. Then obviously when the fish hits it, they're just gonna blow up on it, and that's about it. As far as rods for these baits, so I actually just picked this rod up within the last couple months, and honestly this is perfect for these full-size walking baits, and it'll work for the downsize one too. It'll be fine for that. But this is a Shimano Zodius 7'2", and it's a medium moderate fast action rod. So with the treble hook baits like this, moderate fast, I wouldn't probably go all the way to moderate, but moderate fast is about the perfect action for this. Basically what that means is the rod loads up a little bit further into the blank, and it allows it to kind of have more flex in it. So rather than just the tip bending at the end there, the whole rod kind of bends and loads up, and that helps keep the fish pinned a little bit better with the treble hooks there. As far as line, 9 times out of 10 I'm gonna just be throwing it on straight braid. If it's super clear water and the fish are finicky, then you might have to switch to straight mono. So for those bigger baits like that, I'd probably throw it on 12 or 15 pound mono. For the braid, I like 50-pound braid is pretty much what I always use on that. Reel, I would just throw it on like a 7-to-1 reel. Just full size 150 reel is about perfect for that. So yeah, that pretty much sums up the walking baits. Moving down the list, I'm going to cover a couple more kind of open water type baits, and then we're going to move more towards the kind of heavier cover style baits, which we'll get to the frogs at the end. That's my favorite. So I've got plenty to go with that, and I'm sure you'll get some useful information out of that. But next thing on the list is going to be a popper. So this is the Rico. My opinion, this is the best popper that they make out there right now. I mean, it's a little expensive, but you don't really ever lose them, and they work good. So I'd say it's worth the investment there. So they have the Rico and they have the Rio Rico. So this is the Rico here. It's the smaller size one. The Rio Rico is a little bit bigger. So when you're gonna want to throw this, this is more of a target style bait. So the walking bait, you're looking to just cover a bunch of water. You can throw it and just burn down the bank and fish a bunch of different things. This is geared more towards throwing at specific targets. So if you're fishing along and there's sparse trees, you can really pick them apart with this, and you might get bites that you might not have gotten with that walking bait because you're able to get a little bit tighter and it stays there longer. So when the fish are a little bit more not as aggressive, this can be a super awesome way to really just pick up those the little bit more finessey type fish that you might not have caught otherwise. So I really like throwing this near trees, by like tulies, things like that. And it does work good in open water as well, but in open water, a lot of times I feel like covering water tends to work better for me, so I like throwing this near stuff. As far as when I would use this size versus the bigger size, it kind of depends a little bit. So if the fish are somewhat aggressive and they're kind of really keyed in on bait fish, then I might go for the bigger one. It's just, so the big one's just a little bit easier to throw, a little bit heavier, but this little one here really has a lot of power sometimes on getting bites you might not have gotten otherwise. So depends on how big the bait fish are. If the bait fish are smaller, I'm probably going to lean towards this. If they're normal size, I might throw the big one. If I'm kind of struggling to get bites, then this is the one that should be getting thrown here. So Rico is a very good one. You should probably have this tied on at all times, because this time of year, it's not uncommon to have fish just come up and bust on shad too. Like there's been plenty of times in the last few trips that we've been out, we're fishing in 30 or 40 feet of water, and all of a sudden there's shad and bass busting all around us. So having this on the deck ready to go in case something happens is, you'll pick up a fish almost every single time if you have this in there quick enough. But yeah, usually I'm just throwing this in, like, I like throwing it by trees that are like 2 to 8 feet or so. 2 to 5 is probably the best range, but 2 to 8, if the water's clear, you can throw it deeper too. I mean, a fish will come up sometimes and get this thing out of 15-20 feet of water if they see it. So you can also throw this over points, humps, things like that if it's super clear water. But this is definitely something you need in the arsenal, and works very well. As far as colors, I just keep it simple. I pretty much throw shad colors. So this is lightning shad right here. Got another one. This is the Rio Rico, so you can kind of see. Let me grab this better. You can see it's just a little bit upsized, not super much, not huge difference, but just a little upsized. So that's just a shad color. That one works good too. So nothing too crazy there, but yeah, the Rico is one you definitely need in your box. So with the Rio and the Rio Rico, I just wanted to throw in what rods I use for that, so, or what equipment, I guess. So with the Rio Rico, you can kind of get away with a lot more. It's pretty heavy, pretty easy to cast. I'm gonna throw that on a bait caster pretty much exclusively, but for you spinning rod guys, there's no problem doing it that way as well. So for the Rio Rico, you kind of got more options there. So I mean, you can get away with throwing that on your standard walking bait rod. What I think is going to be kind of best if you're going to get like a rod designated just to throw that is going to be like a medium light rod. So I mean, a medium light fast or moderate fast is going to work just fine for that. That's what I have right here, and that's generally what I throw it on. For the smaller Rico, that one's a little bit tougher because it's so light that you can't really get away with everything with that one. It's not like the Rio where you kind of work with a lot. I don't have it tied on here, but I'll kind of show you what I use here. So this is actually a BFS rod. So Corrado BFS. The rod right here is the Dobbin Sierra. Let me see, it's the 701C. So 7-foot light action. That's gonna work just about perfect for the smaller one. So either with that, I mean, for the line, with the Rico, the little bit difference between the other baits is it's kind of just sitting there, so they're looking at it for a while before they bite it. So it might not be a bad idea to kind of steer towards mono with those ones rather than straight braid. So I could kind of go 50-50 on whether I use braid or mono, but I'd say probably err on the side of mono most of the time. For the smaller one, I'm probably going to throw like 8 to 10 pound mono. I mean 6 to 10, it depends where you're at. If the water's super clear, you might need to go lighter, but 6 to 10 mono for the small one. For the bigger one, I'm probably going to do 8 to 12 pound mono. And then if you're doing braid, I mean, I would just kind of use what's on the rod that you're already using. But moving down the list, so Plopper. This is one I have not thrown a ton myself, honestly. I've got confidence in other top waters, and I just haven't really like fully dove into this one yet. I've thrown it around a little and it works, and I've had buddies that have thrown it in my boat and been catching fish when I'm not. So this is something you definitely need to consider as well. This is going to be a little bit more similar to like your walking bait as far as where you'd throw it. So open water near somewhat sparse cover, like sparse trees, isolated trees, grass lines, tooly edges, things like that. Once again, it has treble hooks, so you're not going to be able to get it through the cover very effectively if you get it too far in there. But if you can get it close to it and just get it by, you just basically throw it out there and just wind it slow, and that tail just kicks, and they smoke it. I've seen some pretty good hits on that before, so that's another one to have in the box. And then as far as sizes for this, so I'm probably going to steer either towards like the 90 size, or I think the next size is like the 115. So the 115 is going to be more similar to kind of like these bigger walking bait type sizes, and then this is kind of honestly similar to like the downsized walking bait size. So I mean, you can get the smaller one than that too. I think it's the 75, and for you pond guys and things like that, the smaller one actually might be the best one to go with. So you can play with the sizes. I'd say it depends on the body of water you're fishing. Heavy cover, or I'm sorry, heavy pressure, like ponds for example, the smaller one's going to probably work better. At our bigger local lakes like Saguaro, Roosevelt, places like that, I'm probably going to steer towards the bigger one most of the time. But yeah, that pretty much sums up that. And then once again, as far as colors, you're going to want clear type color, a shad color, and then bone, and that's pretty much all you need for that. And then as far as equipment that you're going to use to throw this on, so that same rod you're throwing your walking baits on is going to work great for this. So don't really need special equipment for it other than that, and yeah, should work good. So same thing, going to throw it on braid most of the time. If you want to, you can throw it on mono, and I'd probably throw it on 12 to 15, and that would be the other thing. So alright, now it's time to kind of move over towards more of the fun baits. Not that those ones aren't more fun than these ones, but there's just something about throwing a buzzbait or a frog that's just a little bit different than the other ones, and I'm sure the guys that throw these quite a bit kind of know what I'm getting at. But next thing on the list, I'm going to go down with the buzzbait. So this is something that, I mean, it just flat works. It goes through cover good, you get big fish on it, like it's kind of the best of all worlds there. So this is definitely something you need to have in your box. So where I throw this is going to be mostly around cover. So I don't throw this a ton in open water. I'd say probably 85% of the time if I'm throwing a buzzbait, it's going to be like right in the center of the thickest cover I can throw it in. So thicker trees, if there's grass like floating and things like that, these actually come through that pretty good, whereas some of these other things just aren't going to work with the treble hooks. So you can get that through pretty much any type of cover that exists, and I'm going to be throwing it deep in there. So in the standing timber, as close as I can get it to tooly edges, through grass, pretty much anything like that. So this is your kind of 4x4 type bait where you can really get it into places that you're not going to get other things. So as far as colors, I keep this really simple with buzz baits. So I've got kind of a white shad color, see here, and then I've got a chartreuse one. That's really all you need. If the water is clear to not mud, like clear to maybe like 3 to 4 foot visibility, then I'm probably gonna go with the white one. If the colors or the watercolor is getting down where you're only getting like, I'd say 3 feet of visibility and less, then I'm probably gonna throw the chartreuse one. Very simple. One thing I do want to add is I don't usually ever throw trailer hooks on these. You're gonna want to put some kind of trailer bait on this though, so this is just a standard fluke. I've been doing it like this for years. It works very well. I don't really have much reason to put much else on here because it's just flat gets it done. But by putting that bait on rather than just throwing it on a skirt like this one. What that does is it gives the fish something to really key in on, because when you have the skirt, you can kind of see how there's just mass there, but like they could bite like that and they miss the hook or whatever. Like there's just area for them to miss there. As soon as you put this trailer on, now they're keyed on that bait fish every time, so I don't really miss fish when you put that on there, and it makes it the hookup ratio much more effective that way. As far as different buzz baits, so this is the tackle one. I forget what it's called off the top of my head, but this came from the Reaction Innovation Squeaky Dolphin from way back in the day. So this is kind of your loud, noisy buzz bait. Got that kind of whine to it that just a good broken in buzz bait gets after a while. So with buzz baits, I think you kind of want to have two. So you want to have your little bit louder one, and this one does have a clacker on it too, so if you bend this down it will hit the clacker, and that makes a bunch of noise as well. So you want your kind of noisy, loud buzz bait, and then you want a little bit more subtle, quiet one. So kind of similar to with the walking baits there, you have the days that are just dead calm, no breeze, no ripple, no noise, no nothing. In those situations you're probably going to want to go for more of the calm, quieter buzz bait. And the situations where you have a little bit of breeze on the water, kind of a normal day, there's boats, traffic, waves, things like that, you're probably going to want to go more towards the loud buzz bait. And you can experiment with them too and just see which one tends to work better, but something to consider. Just something as simple as the way that it sounds can drastically change how the bites are coming for you. So you got to kind of experiment with it and get a feel for what works, but just having an option for each scenario works very good. For equipment, this you're going to want to throw on more of a fast rod, so like a medium heavy fast rod works good for this. So I mean like a 7-foot medium heavy fast. Probably want to throw this on a 7-to-1 or an 8-to-1 gear ratio reel, and then this is going to be 50-pound braid every single time. I don't really throw this on anything other than that. You just throw it out and it's just a steady retrieve. So as soon as that's hitting the water, you're clicking the reel, you're keeping your rod tip high, and you're just letting that walk across the top of the water. Very simple to throw, and I mean, it's fun. I had days last year at Roosevelt where I was catching 30 or 40 fish on them, so you really can't get a better day on the water than when that goes like that. Alright, and for the last category, this is my personal favorite, but wanted to kind of save the best for last here. So we're going to talk frogs now. So frogs, really the goal behind that is to be able to fish really heavier cover. So you can throw this literally anywhere and very rarely does it get stuck. It's just, that's what they're designed to do. So like the Rico, this is going to be more of a target bait, where I'm not really throwing this and fishing this in open water too much or working it all the way back to the boat or anything like that. Like this is for me to throw in the middle of the deepest tree I can get it into. I'm gonna work it maybe 5, 6, 7 feet past the tree. Once that's done, reel it in, get it into the next one. So this is a really target style bait where you're gonna wanna just throw it into the heavy cover. So middle of trees, right at the edge of the tulies. I mean, if you have lily pads or grass, anything like that, like you're working it through all of that, and the fish will come and get it if they know it's there, so they'll come and get it. But with this one, I've got a few different options out here, and we're going to kind of go down the list a little bit, but I always like to start with a popper frog. So this is the Spro, I think it's the 60 size, I believe. Just Spro popper frog. This is one I've used for years. This is by far my favorite frog. They did change the plastic on it recently, so since then they're a little bit stiffer, and I feel like the hookup ratio has gone down a little bit. So the ones I actually fish are the older version, and I mean, you can see what this one looks like. Like, it's caught, I don't even know how many fish. I've changed the hooks on it, I've changed the tails on it. This thing's been around for a while and it just works. So I have some of the older ones. That's generally the ones that I use when I'm fishing serious. The new ones, I mean, I caught an 8-pounder on it last year, so they work just the same. It's just the hookup ratio has me a little bit worried. So because of that, I have started experimenting with some other options. Another popper frog that so far has been pretty good for me is the Depths Buster K. So this one is very, very soft. The hooks on it are awesome. Got good action. You can make this one walk super easy. The fur legs on there are super natural. It's a very good frog. You pay for it, but it's a very good frog. This one is quite a bit more subtle than the Spro frog. So I feel like I like being pretty aggressive when I'm throwing this one. This is a little bit more subtle option for those days where it's a little bit more finicky and maybe you can't be as aggressive. So this is just another one to consider. So I tend to steer more towards the popper style frogs first. And the reason behind that is with the popper frogs, you can kind of keep them in an area for longer. So with the cup on the front there, it kind of keeps it from going forward. And you can kind of make it walk and do different things where it's having a bunch of action without moving away from the structure that you're fishing. So that's generally why I steer towards the popper frogs first. But I mean, these are good options too, and something you should have in your box and use when you need to. So just give a couple of the standard style frogs. So this is the Spro Bronzeye one, Spro 65 size. That one works good. This is your Action Innovation Swamp Donkey. So this one works really good to walk back and forth. You can really get that thing to walk good. And because of that, you can kind of keep it where it's not wanting to go forward as much, it's kind of staying in the same spot. So that gives you a little bit of the benefit of the popper frogs. The only downside with this one is the hooks on this are so stout, you have to almost upsize your rod over the normal frog rod you're using, or you just can't really drive these home and you lose fish sometimes. So the hookup ratio on this one is a little bit lower on than some of the other ones, which is a little bit unfortunate because it's a super great action frog. I really like it. I just feel like sometimes I lose them. But if you upsize your rod one size heavier than what you were using, you should be fine with that, and that should solve that problem. Wanted to throw this one in there. So this is more of a finesse style frog. So this is the Jackal Carrera. Super limber, great hooks. They have a bunch of great color options. This one's quite a bit smaller than these other ones here. So you can kind of see. So this gives an option for just being more subtle in general. So when the fish are finicky, you can pick that up. For your pond guys, I mean, this could be a great option where, I mean, you're able to throw the frog and you're kind of getting those fish that have a little bit more pressure that you might not catch on some of these bigger ones. And I mean, this is more of a shad style color. They have a bunch of different colors. So this is a good option. Like I said, super limber, great hooks on it. This one you could almost get away with a little bit lighter rod. So if you guys are fishing and you don't have a designated frog rod, maybe you have just like a medium heavy rod or something, try that, because I think you'll have a good hookup ratio still, and it allows you to do it without having to invest in some of that heavier gear. As far as the equipment you're going to want to throw this on, so this is the frog rod I use. Just got a new reel recently, so this is the Shimano Crado MGL. I like throwing this on like an 8-to-1 reel, 7 or 8-to-1, just because it helps you kind of catch up to them sometimes when you need to set the hook, because it happens quick when that happens. So just allowing you to kind of get a little bit more slack than you would with a slower reel can be super helpful. But one thing I did want to mention to kind of help with the hookups on these, so when you get one straight out of the box, the first thing you're going to want to do is just get your pliers and bend these hooks out slightly, so you can kind of see how that's angled up just ever so slightly there. That helps a lot. So you don't need to go super crazy, but just, I mean, you want to bend them up like 5-10 degrees is all, probably like 5 degrees, just enough where if you run your fingers over it, it's kind of grabbing your fingers. But you don't want to go too far, then you'll start getting stuck. So that's something that's super important with the frog. For equipment, I mentioned the reel already. You're going to want to throw that on 50 to 65 pound braid, and you're going to want an extra heavy rod for this. So like a 7-foot extra heavy is pretty much perfect for a frog. For some guys that are a little bit taller, you could go to like a 7.3 or a 7.4, but around a 7-foot extra heavy is just about perfect. And then when they bite that, the trick with the frog is you kind of have to give them a second. You can't set the hook the moment that they bite that, because a lot of times they'll blast it and just knock it under the water, and then they come around and grab it. So you kind of have to let them do it and then give it like 2 solid seconds in your head and then set the hook. That allows them to get time to grab the bait and get everything squared away there. And when you set the hook with the frog, you give them everything you got. You're gonna almost try and break your rod is kind of what you're shooting to do, because those are 2 big hooks that you have to make the frog collapse and drive. And with 2 hooks like that, they're fighting each other and it makes it harder, so you really have to set the hook hard with that. And then once you do, you just kind of want to make sure you're getting them in the boat as quick as you can, because sometimes it does pump, kind of make some little bit bigger holes there where the hook can pop back out. But yeah, I mean, it is the most fun way to catch them if you can consistently catch them on a frog. It's by far my favorite, so you should be seeing more of that soon. I'll be doing that a lot now that not having to fish serious anymore, and we can kind of just go enjoy ourselves. Another option. So we kind of talked the hollow body frogs there. Now we're going to talk more of kind of the like zoom horny toad style, like toad style frogs. So this one is one that works really good in conjunction with like the buzz bait. So you can cover water with this, you can throw this in really heavy cover. It's just a good all-around option. It's a lot more subtle than the buzz bait. So on days where you kind of just don't really feel like you're getting the bites that you think you might with the buzz bait, pick this up, because this can really work good. So I like throwing this on days that are a little bit more calm. So like I said, with the buzz bait, you kind of have that more finessey, quiet option, and then you have the loud one. This is even more one step past the other, like more finessey buzz bait. So I've had days this last year at Roosevelt where we're fishing in the fall and you were just getting absolutely hammered on this. Like there were some times with 10 casts I would catch 5 fish. Throw the buzz bait and you might throw that for 2 hours and catch 3. So you kind of have to experiment with them and see which one they want for the day. But these things work good. So this is the I think it's the name switched now, so I believe it's Frog Factory Ribbit. So these are the old ones I have right here. They used to be Stanley Ribbits, but I think they're called Frog Factory Ribbits now. They work good. So the hook that goes with them, it's the top toed double take hook. So with this, I pretty much always use the 4/0 one. Works good. So there's the baby ribbit and then there's the full size one. Most of the time I'm probably going to throw the full size one, but like I said, for those days that are a little bit tougher, or if you're fishing a body of water that's got a lot of pressure, then that downsized one can work really good. And then as far as equipment for this, you're going to kind of want to throw this on just about the same rod you would throw a buzzbait on. So medium heavy fast action. I'm going to throw that on braid pretty much always, because I'm generally going to be throwing that in the cover just like I would the buzzbait. Similar to the hollow body, when they do bite that, you want to kind of give them a second, because a lot of times they're going to just hammer it out of the water and then they're going to come back and actually get it. So you don't really want to set the hook until you're pretty confident it has it. So I mean, you might have to give them a second or two, or if you feel them, set the hook too. Just kind of watch it, because they miss that fairly often, but if you're patient with it, they'll come back and get it. So that's something that's super important with that one. Once again, you do want to set the hook hard, because you're driving those 2 hooks there. But yeah, that's another super effective way to do it. And I mean, one of my favorites, I'm going to say my favorite topwater is the hollow body frog, the toad there, and a buzz bait. I mean, I like the walking baits and stuff too, but if I could pick what I would want to throw, it's going to be one of those three. But yeah, that's going to pretty much sum it up. I mean, I know I gave you a lot of information there, a lot to consider. So if you have any questions, definitely put the comments down below. One other thing I did want to mention is I'm going to be doing these videos once a week. So if you have any topics, any baits, anything fishing related that you want me to cover, go ahead and comment down below, and I'll make sure I'll get a video for that at some point in time. Just give me some time and we'll get to that eventually. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what works for you. If you have any baits that maybe I didn't mention, like maybe you have a different walk-in bait that you like using, comment that down below. I want to hear what you guys are using as well. But other than that, we're gonna go ahead and wrap that up. So make sure to hit that subscribe button and watch for the next one.